Hi there, it's Mr. Clark. Welcome to Unit 3 on intervals, and we'll get right into it with Lesson 3.1.1 on interval size. All intervals have two aspects that we're going to be talking about. One of them is size, and one of them is quality. Right now we're just worrying about size, which is definitely the easier of the two concepts. First off, what's an interval? An interval is the distance between two pitches. So it's a measure of distance, and an interval size has to do with how we notate music. It doesn't necessarily, it has some relation to how the interval sounds, but it has more to do with how it's written. And specifically, interval size is how far apart two pitches are notated on the staff. And they're abbreviated as numbers, so if two notes are the same line or space on the staff, they're called a unison. If they're line space or space line, that's a second, then third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh octave. So all of them are pretty easy to remember, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, except for unison and octave. Those are the ones with special names. Octave comes from the Greek and Latin prefix octo, for 8, like octopus, octagon, and then October was originally the 8th month before the emperors Julius and Augustus self-inserted themselves into the calendar as July and August. Anyway, so how to figure out interval size? Start with the bottom note and call it 1. So here the bottom note is F. So we call F 1, G is 2, A is 3, B is 4. That's a fourth. Another example, G is 1, A is 2, B is 3, C is 4, D is 5, E is 6. So that's a sixth. That's all you got to do. Two comments on that. One, it's tempting to not count the first. So to say F, then G is 1, A is 2, B is 3, C is 4, and you would call that a fourth, but that is not correct. So one way to combat that is that odd intervals are always line, line, or space, space. Line, line, space, space, line, line, space, space, line, line, space, space, 1, 3, 5, 7. Those are the odd numbered intervals. Even numbered intervals, you always have one of each, one line and one space. So that's a good way to double check. Properly, interval size is a measure of distance. So the fact that we call this 1 instead of 0, it's like a distance from a point to itself in geometry is always going to be 0. So that's why we get this confusing off by 1 thing. Anyway, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, so if you have the notes of an interval sound one after the other, you would call that a melodic interval. So like dom, dom would be a melodic fifth. Melodic intervals can be ascending, going up, or descending, going down. All of the intervals notated up here are harmonic intervals. And then the only thing to note here is that sometimes you have a note head that is offset on the other side of the stem, just so that the note heads don't collide. And here are some examples of notated intervals. And this shows you that the stem direction goes the same way as eighth note beams, whichever note head is furthest from the center line. Here's that one, so it goes up. Here's that one, so it goes down. Here's that one, so it goes down. Here it's a tie, so it goes down. And for these larger intervals, it doesn't necessarily go all the way down an octave from the lowest note. Just, whatever looks good. And then here's an example of unisons and seconds. And you may need to also displace accidentals. Here you have a C sharp and a C natural together in the same interval. That's going to be crunchy. And here you have two naturals, one for the B, one for the C, and you can see this one goes with the B because it's centered on the B line. This one's for the C because it's centered on the C space. But they are horizontally offset so they don't collide with each other. That's all I got on interval size, and I will see you next time.